Hey guys, today we're counting down my top 10 favorite tarantulas. So keep watching to see if yours makes the cut. Hey guys, welcome back to HD Arachnids. I'm Dave. Helen's not here today, but as always, she sends her love. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do a top 10 video. I'm going to do my top 10 favorite tarantulas. Now, this isn't necessarily by species or, a definitive list of what the top 10 best tarantulas are or anything like that. This is just from what we have in our collection, my top 10 favorite out of all of those. We're going to put them in order. I'll show you guys some footage of the enclosure, some footage of the tarantulas themselves, maybe throw some still pictures in there. And yeah, I'd like to hear from you guys, like what your top 10 favorite tarantulas are. And, if there's anything that you would have included in your top 10 faves that didn't make the cut here, go ahead and leave us a comment down below about that. I'd like to hear it. And I don't want to make this intro too long. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the top 10 list. All right, folks, so starting off this top 10 list, coming in at number 10 on the list of my top 10 favorite tarantulas is our Lasiodora klugi, Luigi, the Bahia Scarlet bird eater. So the Lasiodora klugi is a New World terrestrial, so we have it set up in an appropriate terrestrial enclosure. This is just a Hobby Lobby acrylic display case. A decent amount of substrate if it wants to burrow. It's got a nice hide in there, plenty of substrate with a little bit of moisture to it, and a nice big water dish. We got this guy about a year and a half, 2 years ago from Simply Spiders. Great place to order from. And it was about the size of a grain of rice, and it's just taken forever and ever to grow. But finally, he's putting on some size now with each mold. He's about the size of a $50 now, and definitely one of my favorite spiders in my collection. I just love this little guy. He's the cutest little thing. And it's a great species to have. It's very similar to other Lasiodora species, and pretty easy to take care of. The hairs are probably a little bit, something to be concerned about, but as long as you're careful, you're just fine. I recommend this species for just about anybody at any level of experience. Okay, guys, coming in at number 9 is our Chilobrachus species Electric Blue, or the Electric Blue Tarantula. The Chilobrachus species Electric Blue is an Asian fossorial species. As such, it needs a good amount of substrate for burrowing. You want to keep a decent moisture level in there, but not soggy. Good sized water dish. And as you can see, they do a lot of webbing, which is really, really cool looking. We've had this one for about 3-4 months now. It's not quite showing any of its adult colors yet. There's just a little bit of purple on the front legs and pedipalps and fangs, but you can't really see it too well except for a picture I'll put up here at the end. Yeah, I got a little bit of that purple in the picture there, but really looking forward to this one molting. This next molt here, it should start showing some of its adult colors here, hopefully anyhow. And then I'm also looking really forward to getting some better video footage of this. So we'll probably do a whole episode on this tarantula at some point in time here. But again, this one's number 9. Definitely one of our favorite tarantulas, and I can't wait to watch this little guy grow up. About the size of a quarter, maybe a little bit bigger right now, so yeah. Okay, coming in at number 8 is one of our big girls, Tarantulina jolie. She's a Panthobatus platyoma, or the Brazilian pink bloom tarantula. Now this is another New World terrestrial species. They do require a little bit of moisture. So as such, we've got her set up in a really nice bioactive enclosure. We got some live plants in there, springtails and dwarf white isopods. A little bit of leaf litter, some nice pieces of wood and cork bark, real big water dish. And we'll mist this one down probably every other day depending on the humidity and all that. This is one of our largest tarantulas currently. She's pushing about 7 inches diagonal leg span. We've had her I don't know, about 2 years now. We got her in a mystery box from Friction Tarantulas, actually, quite a while ago. Like I said, about 2 years. And we're hopefully going to be pairing her up sometime soon. She is sexually mature, so within the next few months here, I'm hoping to find her a male and pair her up, and then we'll get you guys a video out for that. This is an extremely beautiful tarantula species. The females kind of tend to have that brown color to them, and then they get that nice starburst pattern on the carapace there, and then the males, they turn out to be these beautiful, just brilliant pinkish kind of a purple color on the carapace and the femurs, and they're just a gorgeous, gorgeous spider. It's one of the few tarantulas that you actually kind of want to get a male in. And they're pretty easy to take care of, but a little more advanced. You know, I'd recommend them for an intermediate keeper for sure, but not your beginners. Okay, well that brings us to the number 7 tarantula, and that's going to be Flash. And that's our female Poecilotheria regalis, or the Indian ornamental tarantula. This is an old world arboreal species. They are from India. As such, you want to have it set up in an arboreal type enclosure, a lot more height than width. Don't need a ton of substrate, but they will do a little bit of burrowing at the bottom of their cork bark. As you can see, they pull up that dirt there and they make the classic dirt curtains. And as far as other decorations, as long as you got that cork bark in there, everything else is up to you. You can make it look as pretty as you want, or just leave it basic. You want to have a nice water dish, moisten down a corner every time you water and feed. It's a beautiful tarantula. She's a pretty good sized girl already. She's about 7.5 inches, something like that. Really pretty tarantula. You can kind of see a little bit of that purple color coming through. Definitely a more advanced species. These things are extremely fast and kind of spicy. If you get bit by one, you're going to have a pretty bad few days. It's not something you want to try to take on if you're a beginning keeper, but if you're, upper level, intermediate, or advanced, this is pretty much a must-have for your collection. The Poecilotheria genus is an amazing genus of spiders, and hopefully someday I'm going to be able to collect all 14 species that are available in the hobby. And yeah, we've got a male, I think, on the way here in a couple months for this girl here, and we'll be pairing her up, and we'll be bringing you some footage of that hopefully as well. It's definitely a major goal, like I said, to get all 14 species, and hopefully I'll be able to get them all breeding and make sure that the spiderlings are available in our state for purchase, so that everybody else can enjoy this wonderful genus of tarantulas. Alright, coming in at number 6 on the list is one from my very favorite genus. This is the Sally, our female Theraphosa apophysis, or the Goliath pinkfoot tarantula. This is another New World terrestrial species who does enjoy doing a little bit of burrowing, so you want to make sure you give them a nice solid amount of substrate in there. We've got it filled up about 2/3 of the way full. They are a moisture-dependent species, so you really want to, pay attention to your moisture levels in the substrate there. Have a nice big water dish in there. Otherwise, they're not super difficult. They do tend to have the most irritating, urticating hairs of any genus of the species for most people. It's my favorite genus. I own all 3 species in this genus, and they're all just amazing species to keep. They do get quite large, so you want to make sure that you take that into account if you are going to purchase the species. And I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner. I'd definitely wait until you're a little bit more comfortable with tarantulas, and especially with the moisture-dependent species before you want to get a tarantula like this, because they're expensive, and if you make a mistake and you lose a tarantula, that's just not a good deal for anybody, you or the tarantula or anybody else, and it's kind of discouraging. So you want to make sure you're ready when you pick up a spider of this type. Alright guys, we're halfway through. If you guys could take a second to hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing to the channel. It's really going to help us out. It'll help YouTube find us and push the algorithm. So coming in at number 5, we've got Morticia, our Poecilotheria ornata, or the Fringed ornamental tarantula. So this is another old world arboreal species. Just like every other pokey, you want to have it in an arboreal setup. Nice cork bark, brown type thing there, and then whatever else you want for decoration, some vertical space for it to climb on and web up and stuff. And A little bit of substrate, because like I said, they'll bring up a little bit of dirt through the dirt curtains and kind of burrow down into the bottom of that cork bark. But as far as enclosures, you know, they're not real hard to maintain. They do need a nice water dish and not a ton of moisture, but you want to make sure you keep a moist corner so there's a little bit of humidity in the enclosure. This is a really beautiful tarantula. They're pretty reclusive, so it's hard, as you can tell, to get decent footage of them. But occasionally you will see them out and about, especially in the early morning or early evenings. Like, I generally get up to go to work at like 5 in the morning, and luckily, you know, I won't take a kind of a walk through the tarantula room, and most of these guys are going to be out, and I can actually, you know, see them and appreciate them. But it's a beautiful species, and it's right now, you know, probably my second favorite Poke species behind the Metallica, but I don't have a Metallica yet, so this one's going to make the top Poke species on the list here. It's got some really pretty, like, kind of deep green coloration there, and then the orange setae and hairs on the leg, and a little bit of the orange-reddish color in the abdomen there, too. It's just a beautiful tarantula species. They get quite large, and this one is actually a male, so hopefully I'll be able to ship him off at some point in time to pair up with a female somewhere and get some spiderlings out of him. Alright folks, that brings us up to number 4, my number 4 favorite tarantula in my collection, and that is going to be Bluey, or Ephebopus cyanognathus, or the blue fang tarantula. This is another New World species, and it is terrestrial / fossorial. It does tend to do quite a bit of burrowing. As you can see, it's got a nice burrow set up there. And it does a decent amount of webbing, too, around the mouth of the burrow. Ours is pretty small still, maybe a little bit bigger than a quarter, so we've had it maybe 3 months. So I don't have a ton of experience with this species yet, but they do need deep substrate, a little bit of moisture, nice water dish. And it's arguably one of the most beautiful tarantulas out there. I mean, it even gives the T. Celedonia kind of a run for its money there as far as being beautiful. As you can see, it's got that emerald metallic sheen to the abdomen, those bright blue fangs, and the kind of orange legs there. It's just a beautiful species, and we've had a blast keeping this one. And it's one that we actually do see out quite a bit, too. It doesn't stay hidden away quite as much as a lot of the other fossorial or burrowing species. It's a pretty fast spider. You gotta, you know, you want to be probably a little more towards the intermediate before you want to try to take on one of these. They're pretty quick. Like I said, a beautiful tarantula. Not real hard to take care of, not real demanding or anything like that. Just a, you know, standard terrestrial fossorial setup and some moist substrate and water dish and a hide, and you're pretty much good to go. Some of these pictures here turned out real good, so I decided to throw those on there. It's just, you can see that those fangs are just breathtaking blue color. It's unbelievable. And we're getting up towards the end of the top 10 list, and this one is definitely one of our very favorite tarantulas. Alright everyone, we're getting down to the good stuff here. We're into the top 3, so coming in at number 3 is Jerry Garcia, our female Haploclastus devamantha, or otherwise known as the polychromatic earth tiger or the LSD tarantula. Alright, this is another Asian fossorial species, one of the most beautiful tarantulas out there. They come from the Western Ghats region of India. They require a moist substrate, just like all your other Asian fossorials, and these are generally found in the wild on like a slope of a riverbank or in roadside ditches, that kind of stuff. So you want to kind of try to recreate that and give them a little bit of a slope there. You can see it just kind of made its burrow right in the center of that slope, and it goes all the way down to the bottom and then branches off in several different directions. We very rarely see this tarantula. This is one of the few times it's been out here, and then some of the more other footage here I got when I did a rehouse on it. You don't see it very often, but when you do see it, it's worth it, because as you can see, this tarantula is just stunning. They're gorgeous. They have those deep purple colors to them. The camera doesn't really do it justice here, but that abdomen's got the kind of a metallic sheen to it, depending on which direction you're looking at it in the light. They're a pretty spicy tarantula. It's not something that I recommend for a beginner, and they're also quite expensive. So you want to make sure you've got a little experience under your belt and you're comfortable with the old worlds and the faster tarantulas and the spicier tarantulas before you want to take on a tarantula like this. But if you're, intermediate and above, this is a tarantula that I really think everybody should have in their collection. They're just stunning. Some of these pictures here do a little bit better job of showing off the coloration. This is definitely one of my absolute favorite tarantulas. As you can tell, it made number 3 on the list, and I hope to find a male sometime soon for this one to pair with. So if anybody out there in the US has a male, feel free to hit me up. Okay, folks, that brings us to number 2 on our list of my top 10 favorite tarantulas. And that's going to be kind of a tie between 2 tarantulas. They're both the same species. Ozzy and Sharon, they're my Theraphosa blondies, or the true Goliath bird-eating tarantulas. So these guys are a New World terrestrial species. They are actually the largest species of, well, arguably the largest species of tarantula in the world. The Sterni and the LP are pretty close there. They require a decent amount of substrate. They don't do a lot of burrowing, but they will burrow a little bit. A nice size hide. They are a moisture-dependent species, so you want to make sure you keep the enclosure nice and moist. A couple big water dishes in there helps with that. It's a beautiful tarantula. This one is actually in primo right now, if you can't tell by the butt, so they don't want to disturb them a whole lot, so this isn't the best footage, but it is most definitely my absolute 100% favorite species of tarantula. Not necessarily my favorite individual tarantula, which is coming up next. You guys will see that. But as far as tarantulas go, this is always for, the 25 years or so that I've been into tarantulas. This has been my, dream spider. And now I have a male and a female, so hopefully we're going to be able to pair them up here within the next probably year or so and get some blondie babies out of the deal. I would definitely not call this a beginner species. You want to make sure you got a little experience on your belt before you try to take on one of these because of the urticating hairs and the moisture-dependent nature of this tarantula. You want to, be a little more advanced before you pick one up because they're very expensive. Alright, everybody, that brings us down to number 1. And this should come as probably no surprise to a lot of you who have been following my channel, but it's none other than Miss Fatty, my 31-year-old female Grammostola rosea, or the Chilean rosehair. Well, alright guys, we're saving the best for last. This is another New World terrestrial tarantula, the Grammostola rosea, of course. I've had this tarantula for, since 1994. She's approximately 31, 32 years old. She was a 2 to 3 inch juvenile when I got her, so I'm sure she was at least 3-4 years old when I got her, because these guys grow just slow as molasses. They're very slow growing tarantula. We've got her in a terrestrial setup, obviously. She doesn't do a whole lot of burrowing. You can leave the substrate bone dry. They don't require any moisture, just the water dish and hide, and they're pretty much good to go. Over the years, I've had her in all sorts of setups. Husbandry advice was not very good back when I first got her, but now we've got her set up the way she should be. I'm definitely my most favorite tarantula in the entire world. I've had her for years and years, and she's gone with me through all of my major life events and everything. She's always just been sitting there waiting for me at home, nice and chill, relaxed. I don't want to anthropomorphize her or anything like that, but I definitely have, strong feelings for this tarantula, and I'm going to be gutted when she finally does pass, which I hope is not going to be for another, 5-10 years, but we'll have to see. She did molt last year after about 6 years, of not having molted, so hopefully she'll, she's got another 5-6 years in her. Maybe she'll even molt again for us. I recommend this tarantula for anyone. These tarantulas are amazing. They're very easy to keep. They're a very hardy tarantula, generally fairly docile. We're able to handle this one, though we don't choose to very often. And, it's just a great classic addition to anybody's collection. Well, there you have it, folks. That is my absolute top 10 favorite tarantulas that I currently own. This could change in the future. I'm sure it probably will, as most of you know. Like, this one's your favorite, that one's your favorite. They're all your favorite, pretty much. But for now, that is a pretty good representation of what my favorite tarantulas are in our collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out. Drop us some comments down below. Like I said, I'd love to hear what your top 10 favorite tarantulas are. If anything, that you think is in your top 10 tarantulas made our list, let me know about it. Give us some comments, and we'll absolutely take the time to answer each and every one of you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Next week, well, maybe not next week, but the week after probably, we're going to do Helen's top 10 favorite tarantulas, so you guys can look forward to seeing that. So until then, bye-bye.